So cheap smartphones are getting cheaper, expensive smartphones are getting more expensive, but smartphones in general, are they becoming more expensive or more cheap? There's no actual straight answer to that, but that's not even what we're talking about today. The topic for today is, why is your cheap smartphone cheap? But before that, intro. What's up, guys? Welcome back. It's Wazi here again, and I hope you guys are doing good. From the last time, it's been a while I saw you guys, and yeah, I'm happy to see you guys again. I know you guys are happy to see my face getting 61 views. Yeah, you guys are so annoying, man. Like 3K subs and like 61 views. That's the max we get. That's crazy. But you guys are commenting, and that is what is pushing us to keep going. The comments and then the likes. And also the views if you keep watching. So, very first thing about cheap devices and why your devices are cheap is the display. I mean, that's the very first thing you see when you take out your phone from the box, when you go to a showroom displaying different smartphones. And the first thing you see is the display. You don't see the camera, at least not yet. The RAM, the battery, you might never even see. But the display is what you're saying. That's what differentiates a cheap device from an expensive device. Expensive devices come with an AMOLED screen, an OLED panel, or even a Super AMOLED like you see on the Samsung devices. But when you go to a cheap device, it comes with just one, it's just the LCD panel. It's the only thing you see on a cheap device, an LCD panel. When a device comes with an AMOLED panel, that's one indication that it's not going to be cheap. When it comes with an LCD panel, it's going to be a cheap one. And what's the difference between these two panels? Now, the LCD panel is not power efficient, and that's just something we're trying to measure out on devices as devices just keep coming through the market and being produced and manufactured. Power efficiency, power saving, power conservation is one thing every smartphone user wants to see on a device, but LCD panels you're not really getting that on an LCD panel. Why? Because underneath the screen you see of an LCD panel, is a backlight just busting out light to your screen. I mean, on the AMOLED or more expensive devices, you don't see that because the individual pixels on those devices, the AMOLED panel, is what produces light. So in a situation where you have a dark scene or a darker image, the pixels surrounding that dark area just completely turn off or go dim for you to get a deep black. And that is one bonus that you get from an AMOLED display. You're getting deep blacks, as well as you're getting vibrant colors and more crisp images. And you're not getting those on an LCD panel. But is it much of a problem? It's not. It's not a problem because, I mean, a lot of people just they can't tell the difference. It's very difficult to actually tell, like, this is an LCD panel and this is an AMOLED display for the untrained eye. And it's just so difficult. And a lot of people just don't even care about that. I mean, they can see their pictures, they can take really good pictures, they can watch their movies and films on it, they can go scroll through Instagram, and they can do a lot on it. I mean, we have LCD panels coming with 90 Hz refresh rate and stuff like that. So a lot of people just don't even care about refresh rate and just don't also care about whether it's an LCD panel or an AMOLED display. So is it a problem? It's not. But when you're talking of quality, you're not really getting quality on an LCD display. That's just it. The second thing with cheap devices and what actually makes them cheap is the build, the design, and then the durability of these devices. Cheap devices come with a plastic build. Sometimes once in a while you see a metallic rim around the body, but it's mostly plastic. I mean, obviously except the display, which is glass. And expensive devices, you have like metal builds, glass, and even leather for special edition devices. So plastic on a cheap device, it makes sense because all these I mentioned, metal, glass, leather, they're very expensive products to fit on a smartphone. So you want it cheap, you're just gonna have the plastic build. That's just what you're gonna get. And waterproofing is not something you're going to get on a cheap device. So the third aspect of why a cheap device is cheap is the camera quality. I mean, look, we can ignore durability, build, design, because the major aspect of the most important part of your device is the display. And that is protected, like I just said, the Corning Gorilla Glass. So you're good to go from falls and scratches and cuts and whatever. But and also the LCD panel is also, you have 90 Hz on LCD panel these days, and which is also protected by the Gorilla Glass. So, I mean, it's ignorable. You can ignore these two aspects. But when it comes to camera quality, it's something you just cannot ignore on a device. It's something which a lot of consumers are going to. I mean, there is no ad of a device or a smartphone that doesn't display or advertise its camera quality or camera setup. So it's one of the most important things on a smartphone these days, and it's one thing that just brings the quality of cheap smartphones down and just ruins the entire thing and makes them cheap. The camera quality. And a lot of people are deceived by the megapixels they have on the devices, thinking they have more megapixels, so they're going to get better shots than a device which has smaller. Like, for example, the Infinix Note 8, the Tecno Camera 16 Premium, which was recently released, they came with 64 megapixel cameras. The iPhone 12 Pro Max, I mean, Apple has been using 12 megapixels on their cameras for as long as I can remember. iPhone 12 Pro Max came with 12 megapixels, but we're not even allowed to go into the argument of the Infinix Note 8 64 megapixel performing better or taking better shots than the iPhone 12 Max. It's just not going to happen. So yeah, more megapixels doesn't equate to better picture taking. And a fellow YouTuber, Tech PhD, the guy DLP made a video with recently. If you guys haven't watched that video, it'll be a card up here. And the video, which I'm about to push you guys to after watching this video though, is also going to be in the description below. He made a video of why or how megapixels, explaining how megapixels or more megapixels doesn't actually equate to better pictures. So you guys should just go check that out in the description below. And yeah, so more megapixels on your device doesn't mean you're going to get better pictures, although it's significant because Samsung S20 Ultra came with 108 megapixel camera. So yeah, it's significant, but it doesn't mean it's going to take better pictures. Samsung S20 Ultra's camera is comparable to the likes of the iPhone 12 Pro Max, the iPhone 11 Pro Max, which have the lesser megapixels. So yeah, and also another issue with the camera quality on cheap devices is the aperture. The aperture is so closed in that they are performing so terrible in low light and night shots. I mean, even some high-end devices are struggling with this. How about your cheap device? Because you having a closed-in aperture doesn't allow in more light into the camera sensor. And what happens is when you don't have more that much amount of light coming in or open aperture, your camera setup, you just have a darker image. So you're forced to bump up the ISO to a very higher number. And when you do that in taking a picture or a video, you're going to get a grainy and noisy image. You're taking a picture and it looks like you've been in a sandstorm for the past 5 minutes. It just looks so sandy. And the funny thing is, a lot of people just don't care about it. You see a grainy image and they just post that to Instagram and Twitter and whatever. And you're like, this image is just so not of good quality. And they don't care. People just like it's a normal picture. Some people, man. So the camera quality on a cheap device is just so bad. So that's one thing that also brings the cheapness. Cheapness, is that a word? Yeah, whatever. It just brings down the cost of cheap devices, brings them to a very, very low standard because you're having a bad camera setup on your device. So you have to just pay less for that. Also, one final thing which I think if I don't talk about, I haven't done justice to this topic of cheap devices or why they're cheap, is a less powerful CPU and memory. Cheap devices come with very, very old SoCs, very, very old processors, and it takes very longer to complete simple tasks, and it takes much longer if you have loads of files on the device. And I mean, even bloatware, those stock apps that your device comes with when you buy the phone afresh, they just eat up a sizable amount of your memory because the system and apps is taking almost 2 gigabytes. You have a reserved space of about 300, 400, 500 megabytes. So you're not even getting 2 gigabytes of 4 gigabytes of RAM to use for just your own easy free consumption. So imagine you're having 2 gigabytes of RAM in the first place or 1 gigabyte of RAM in the first place. So since 2020 has ended, or is ending, about to end, hopefully, pray to God that it ends well. 2021, the least amount of RAM you should have in your device is 4 gigabytes. I mean, it's manageable. It's not the best, but it's manageable. At least you can hang on to that for like a year and then you just switch to something higher. Because 2, 3, 1 gigabyte, that is not a go area. It is a no-go area. So yeah, Itel S16, no. So low-end devices coming with these very old SoCs can't handle the apps that are coming these days. The new apps coming these days are more hardware accelerated. So you need the CPU speed and GPU pixels to push those pixels around like the expensive phones are doing. But you lack the memory and speed of the CPU to do that. So, and multitasking is one thing that it's just one of the best and interesting things about smartphones, being able to run multiple apps at the same time, keep a lot of them in the background, jump from app to app. But then this consume and use up a lot of memory, and that is not something you have in your cheap device, because if your device is supposed to be cheap, you're just not getting that sizable amount of memory to jump from app to app. But one interesting thing I'm seeing with devices these days is, although they're cheap, they're now coming in with, there's a trend that I'm seeing they're now following with cheap devices of about $250 or $150 or $300, coming with high very sizable amount of RAM, 6 gigabytes, like the Infinix Note 8, and then the Tecno Camon 16 Premium come with 6 gigabytes of RAM. And I mean, that's a very good thing. And even the processors, G90T, I mean, that is a gaming enhanced processor from MediaTek. The Helio G90 series is gaming enhanced, as well as the G80 that falls in the Infinix Note 8. So this is like a trend that I hope and I pray that they continue with. Other than that, they're just gonna suck and become cheap with very bad quality. But the camera quality still remains the same. So multitasking is becoming an improvement. It's improving on the cheap low-end devices. When your phone doesn't have enough memory to run a lot of apps, jump from one app to another, and keep some in the background, it starts slowing down and you start noticing lag. I mean, you've not been able to upload your profile picture to Instagram for the past 15 minutes with a strong network. Jennifer, it's because you have TikTok, Snapchat, WhatsApp, Google Chrome, and Instagram all open in the background on your cheap device. Your memory is so low, you have Google Chrome running, and you're just doing a lot, and it's just messing the whole thing up. So you're gonna notice it's slowing down, you're gonna notice lag, and it's gonna take a very long time for your device to complete simple tasks. So that's one problem with cheap devices. It's just something which is noticeable. It's something you can't ignore, in addition to the camera quality that you can't also ignore. So but then cheap devices are not all that bad. I mean, like I just said, you have devices coming these days that are cheap, but are also coming with strong CPU, strong memories, and also strong, more powerful CPUs. So it's a trend we are seeing these days that cheaper devices are getting better, but they're not up to quality. Okay, the fact that they're getting better doesn't mean they're up to the standard, they're up to quality, because it's just left to the higher end and the middle range and more expensive smartphones. So cheap devices are not bad, but they're just not the best. And they're not meant for everybody. So if you've got a little more cash on you, just for no budget at all, you just add it onto what you have and just get a very good device. I mean, we do that all the time here. So you just keep watching and subscribe if you haven't, to get much more better videos like this, and also similar videos like what Delpy, the other guy, is doing. And he just talked on an issue with Tech PhD, which you guys should go check out. And I really enjoyed that video because, I mean, I knew about just one or two devices and I didn't know anything about the year. So if you don't know what I'm talking about, there'll be a card up here, or maybe not up here, down in the description below. There'll be a link to that video for you to go check out. And Tech PhD's link will also, to that video we're talking about megapixels, will also be in the description below, so you can go check out. I'm talking too much. That will be it for me today. I'll see you guys in the next video. Before that, peace out, stay safe, and please keep wearing a mask. There's still a pandemic out there. It's not like it's gone, so keep wearing a mask. Stay safe.